You are not going to believe the latest news about Avengers Infinity War. Apparently, the movie is being censored in certain countries all around the globe. This is absolute craziness. What could be cut out of the film? Is it going to matter? Does this mean the movie's even doper than we originally thought? We're going to break it all down. We're also going to talk about the box office tracking. Currently, Infinity War looks to outpace Star Wars The Force Awakens. It will crush that opening record, but what kind of legs is this movie going to have? Are we looking at the biggest box office of all time? Will it get there? Will it hit those James Cameron numbers? We're going to talk about all of that. This is the Nerdy News Rundown, your daily dose for nerdy news. Let's do this thing. What is up, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world? I'm your host, Josh, and I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, getting your nerdy news from us here at the Den of Nerds. Now, our first topic is kind of a crazy one. This news broke over the weekend. Yes, Infinity War is going to be censored. Now, this all started when the censorship board in Indonesia released the fact that they are going to be doing a censored cut of the movie that is going to have 7 minutes cut out from it. So there's a lot of stuff in the movie that is going to be cut out because 7 minutes is not a small amount of screen time. People are wondering, is it a particular scene? Is it a minute here? Is it a minute there? It's probably a minute here, a minute there, to be honest with you. And we're going to get into what it could be in just a second. But in general, it is pretty weird that a movie like this is going to be censored. And the Russo brothers found out about it just like all of us did, and they responded online pretty honestly. They were pretty much taken aback. They couldn't believe that the movie was being censored, and they're scratching their heads trying to figure out like what parts of the film are considered offensive. They made this movie to be watched by everybody. They went online, they were speaking about how this movie is made by Marvel Studios is owned by Disney, and they definitely Disneyfy most of their films. I mean, even the more hardcore MCU films still are flavored really nicely for a family package. So it's a pretty weird story. The Russo brothers are pretty surprised by it. I think a lot of fans are pretty surprised by it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of cool, right? It kind of gives this like badass kind of reputation to the film. I mean, the film is it maybe so awesome? Is it maybe so dope that they're censoring it in Indonesia because they have a very low tolerance for amazing films? I mean, that's probably not the case, but either way, it's kind of a funny thing people have been talking about on Twitter and Reddit, and it just seems like the internet is responding by saying, well, first of all, that's dope. Second of all, it's probably crazy. I mean, I don't know what could be in this film that would need cut out. But let's speculate on that topic a little bit. Now, the first thing that comes to mind for me is violence, because believe it or not, American films leave a lot of violence in their movies that a lot of other countries are not super down with. So in America, when it comes to sexuality, that will get your rating high very quickly, and as will dropping profanity that's beyond like the one F-word rule that you get on a PG-13 movie. By the way, we get a one F-word rule here on YouTube, and I think that's fucking dumb. No, we don't really have a rule like that. I was just looking for an excuse to drop an F-bomb. Sorry to the kids. But anyways, yeah, that's a real thing. American films are way more violent than movies you would see around the world. Now, of course, that's not a general rule. I mean, it is a general rule, but it doesn't apply to everything. I mean, look at like some of the Lars von Trier films and different films over in Europe, and it's plain to see that they have very violent films as well. But I guess on a whole, especially for more conservative countries like China, like India, and different countries like that, it definitely becomes a problem with the violence. So I don't think the violence would be anything that American audiences would be too freaked out by, but that does not mean that it's not violence that other countries might have a problem with. So maybe a little bit of violence here and there, dragged out scenes. I mean, we know there's going to be a lot of ass kicking done by Thanos, maybe a little too much for certain audiences. The other thing that gets censored a lot in other countries is actually mystical stuff. So anything that has to do with the afterlife, perhaps a lot of the soul stone stuff that we're going to get in the film, anything that sort of goes against a fundamental view in that particular country of what the afterlife is, what place does mysticism have in their culture, anything that goes against that can get censored in different countries. So it's possible this has something to do with Doctor Strange, spirituality, the idea of knowing paths, of metaphysical stuff, you know, soul stony, afterlife, resurrections, that kind of stuff. So it's possible that that is the stuff that is being cut as well. I mean, that is really the only stuff that I can think of that would get censored. There is also this possibility, I saw people throwing this out online, that the Wanda Vision relationship could be considered a little too weird for certain audiences. Maybe they're really, really against having sex with robots. So if they have something like that or an allusion to that in the film, that could be something that people cut out. But I really don't think that that is it. I'm betting it's probably just extended sequences of violence, which the censorship board just thought were a little bit too much. It could have some deaths and stuff like that, that while not gruesome, are like emotionally impactful. So I'm kind of thinking that's where they're going with it. But that's the news, guys. Avengers Infinity War is getting censored. Please, please, please let me know what you think about this. Do you think it's awesome? Are you going to wear it as a badge of honor and be like, yo, I saw that censored indie film known as Avengers Infinity War? Do you think it's just a small group of countries maybe making calls, maybe something lost in translation and people are blowing it out of proportion? Do you think maybe the film is incredibly dark and it's actually going to freak all of us out and we're going to walk out crying and we're going to say, why didn't you censor that for American audiences? Whatever your thoughts are on it, please let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's get to the next story. This is all about the tracking for Infinity War and its box office growth. I've been talking about this for a while. It was tracking at around $200 million, which is phenomenal for an opening weekend, but it's now being ticked up more and more. And there's different reports out there, and these are all just kind of predictions. But at the end of the day, I believe it is tracking for $250+ million on its opening weekend. That would beat the record for domestic opening that is currently held by Star Wars The Force Awakens, which was considered an event. It was considered this box office nobody would be able to touch for a long, long time. Infinity War may crush that record, which is amazing. It means that just all the hype is working. Remember, I've been telling you guys, Marvel is spending more money on promotion for this movie than they ever have before. And you might think, well, that's a little crazy because everybody already knows about this movie, but they are spending money to make it an event. They want everybody to be going to the movie. They want everybody to be talking about this film. They want it to be the top trending thing and to just be this phenomenal pop culture event. And it looks like it's working. Now, the immediate question that gets asked after news like this comes out is, well, what do the legs look like? How is it going to track long term? Is it going to be able to beat Titanic? Is it going to be able to beat The Force Awakens? Is it going to beat Avatar and finally, you know, get James Cameron out of the top spot of grossing movies of all time? That question, I would have to say, I kind of doubt it. As a big Marvel fan, I secretly hope that it does. But the big difference here between this movie and these other films is the lack of competition that some of these other movies had. I mean, just 2 weeks after Infinity War comes out, you've got Deadpool 2 dropping, which a lot of people are going to go see. And then 2 weeks after that, you've got Han Solo. Or is it 1 week? I don't know. Han Solo's coming out really quickly after that as well. That's the point. So with big movies like that coming out and then the entire summer, which is filled with blockbusters, which, you know, let's be real, blockbusters are kind of dying. Not a lot of people are going to go see some of the crappier ones, but it will still take some residual business away from Infinity War. However, I do want to say that I believe box office is kind of changing and they could cram a ton of gross in those first 2 weeks. So it really will depend on what that number is. What is the number going to be in the first 2 weeks? I think it could eclipse $1 billion in those first 2 weeks. And it really just depends after that. We'll have to take a look at it. It is possible that Infinity War will be on the top 5. It's very possible, and it could even surpass some of these huge movies and become the biggest gross film of all time. That would be pretty impressive, but for now, I'm kind of skeptical about that because of the competition it is facing. So that's the news, guys. Infinity War tracking at a $250+ million opening weekend. What do you think about that? And also, do you think this film is going to have legs? Is it going to be able to beat Titanic and Avatar? Let me know your thoughts about all of that in the comment section below. All right, let's do the dope list. Just a rapid fire of all the dope things that happened on the internet yesterday.
Sounds dope.
Because my life is dope and I do dope.
First up on the dope list has to do with Tom Holland being trolled in an interview. This was a really funny video, which I'll link below. Some friends of his get on a press junket, do an interview with him. They're trolling him, asking him all these weird questions. He's taking it like a champ and sort of puts it together towards the end of it. Very funny video. I'm a big fan of Tom Holland. This was really cool and just a lot of fun to watch. Next up on the dope list, we got a new Han Solo trailer. It's just a teaser, but it's really, really cool. Does that rapid editing. This movie just looks dope. Very, very cool stuff going on here. And the trailer itself focuses on the Han and Chewie relationship. I personally think this is going to be a big focus on the film, and I think they're going to lean heavily on Chewbacca for this movie, which is probably a good idea and will make the transition to this new version of Han Solo even easier for fans. Last up on the dope list has to do with the new Saiyan villain for the coming Dragon Ball Legends mobile game. Now, we knew from leaks that the character's name was Xiaolot, but now they have confirmed that the name is Xiaolot, and they basically talk a little bit about this Saiyan online. It was pretty interesting what they said. First of all, they refer to him as dashing, which I thought was kind of interesting. Are they going to play off of his dashing looks? Is he really vain or something like that? That's pretty interesting. They also refer to him as hot-headed. That's pretty cool. So we're learning more and more about this character. He's going to play a major role in the story, and hopefully this story will tie into the origins of the Saiyan Dragon Ball Super movie, which we are going to get at the end of the year. So just a little bit of more information about this Saiyan villain. I know a lot of people are super hyped about this. It's really dope. So it made it on to the dope list. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching, getting your nerdy news from here. Now, I just kind of want to be real with you guys. The nerdy news rundown might take a slight break because I am moving soon and all of this cool stuff behind me is going to be moved soon. So I don't know. I'll try to keep you guys updated on social media and on the community tab here, but we will be bringing this show back in some iteration in the near future. I'm not sure, but don't worry. There's going to be tons of content here on the Den of Nerds. I'm working on a ton of videos right now, so you're going to dig all of that. But yeah, this show might take a little break. But as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.